Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge is the best album by My Chemical Romance. It constantly lives in the shadow of the Black Parade, but people often forget about the album that was their big break in the first place, the, in my humble opinion, superior album, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. So let's do what every genre's fanbase does and argue over which of the two brilliant albums are slightly more brilliant. And before you comment, Bullets is better, or everyone forgets about conventional weapons, just know that, yeah, your opinion is valid, and you should consider subscribing because I can't wait to talk about those records. But for me and what seems like the majority of MCR fans, the Black Parade and Three Cheers come out on top. But it's like picking your favorite child. Three Cheers may be featured on the thumbnail, but I promise I love them both equally. So why does Three Cheers have the edge? Let's get into it. Three Cheers is defiant against any genre pigeonholing because it pulls influence from a myriad of different sounds. This album is chaotic, and the energy is cranked to 11 for most of the runtime, although it's unafraid to pull back a few times. What could have been a messy anthology of ideas and styles instead became an anthemic behemoth that nearly justified inventing a new genre to describe it. From the arena rock hit Helena to the violent pop rock single I'm Not Okay, from the understated Cemetery Drive to the cowboy screamo banger Hang 'em High, this frantic tracklist, equal parts chaotic and measured, is mirrored by Gerard's urgent and sincere vocal performance, as well as each guitarist's determination to create some of the most kick-ass riffs that the scene had ever witnessed. And Gerard's vocals would have been great on their own, but it's the extra vocal layering and additional takes that are buried in the mix that add a splash of chaotic color. Burt McCracken's maniacal laughter, and you know what they do to guys like us in prison, is especially potent. I've always thought of these sometimes unintelligible vocal layers as the protagonist's dialogue. Even if I can't always pick up on the exact words being said, the emotion shines through very clearly. The usually cliché interlude track works here to set up one of the most important moments on the record. Anticipation that the interlude creates means it's an essential part of the album and is one of the few examples of an interlude that I never feel tempted to skip. Speaking of that awesome moment on Venom, the guitars are manic and constant everywhere, refusing to be silent or suppressed in the mix.
I don't want to go to sleep.
Why?
Because.
Just tell me why.
Because.
Because why?
Because it's...
Do we do it somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I said.
The chords you can't deny. You know what I'm saying? But this is just power chord.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
That,
the B flat?
Yeah.
And while Gerard's vocals are indeed prominent, the guitars throw punch after punch, demanding your attention. My favorite instances are when the guitars and vocals go completely off the rails, falling and spiraling through the air before recentering themselves, if only for a brief moment. Both The Black Parade and Three Cheers are technically concept albums with a narrative and characters. However, I wouldn't blame anyone for having no clue that one or both of these was a concept album at all. The narrative is so loose that the songs don't necessarily push the plot forward as much as they serve as world building, lore about a place that still leaves a lot to the imagination. What they do nail down are some very dark and evocative themes, accentuated by a fully realized violent aesthetic. And besides the aesthetic being violent, a lot of this does apply to the Black Parade. I would say that MCR took the aesthetic angle even further with that record, fully committing to the bit. Where they looked sharp in the Black Parade, they were a little greasier, a little dirtier, a little more dangerous in Three Cheers. And remember, I love Black Parade, and I'd rank both of these on S tier, but the grit in Three Cheers is so much more captivating to me. The rapid-fire pacing is so fun, like a 120 miles per hour car chase, so the album just flies by. The theatrics are maxed out, but in a grimy, deviously playful way that sometimes makes you wonder how they ever got a major label on board with this in the first place. Black Parade might take the W for the larger-than-life, career-defining songs like Welcome to the Black Parade, Teenagers, and Famous Last Words, but it also takes the L for some pace-killer tracks like Sleep and I Don't Love You. You could argue that Black Parade has more variety and range, but it never hits the depths that Three Cheers is unafraid to take us to. I find myself revisiting Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge way more often than Black Parade, It has a tone that I'm just always in the mood for, with an energy that never fails to lift my spirits. Three Cheers is a cotton candy John Wick type action movie, while Black Parade begs to be taken a little bit more seriously. And sometimes I'm just not up for the emotional punches that Black Parade dishes out. And I don't mean to imply that Three Cheers doesn't kick your teeth in once in a while, because it does. If you've been doing your MCR homework, the final track, I Never Told You What I Do for a Living, is a complete rug pull. Complete with desperation, denial, and bargaining, this balls-to-the-wall closer embraces the horror that goes hand in hand with violence. So although I don't think anyone can prove that Three Cheers is the superior album, I think many of us are justified in calling it our favorite, and saying that it's the record that we cherish just a little bit more. And that's good enough reason for me to spin this one again, and again, and again. Thanks for watching.